Hi, this is Tara Powers, and today's topic is on strategic thinking for women leaders and why it's so vital and important. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about recent studies that they've done with executives across the country. And what they have found is that executives believe that strategic thinkers are shown to be the most effective leaders, and they do believe it is the most important skill leaders bring to the table. But studies also show that many leaders don't demonstrate this skill, and in particular, women are not seen as strategic thinkers, even though we have the ability to multitask and think about a lot of different things. And so what I want you to get out of today's video, and certainly out of the article that I wrote on this topic, is that you can be a strategic thinker. And there are a ton of benefits for you to do so. Strategic thinking leads to credibility. It leads to you being seen and heard as a leader. It certainly positions you as a thought leader, which I know many of you watching this video are looking to do in your industry. So let's talk about a couple key things around strategic thinking and what it is. The definition that I use for strategic thinking is really holistically thinking about the overall goals and vision of your job, your company, your team, your organization, and imagining what is possible and why you should do it. That's my definition. So what I mean by that is that really strategic thinkers and people who are truly a strategic leader take a broad, long-range approach to problem solving and decision making that involves a lot of different things. They objectively look at problems and opportunities and analyze them. They think ahead over the next 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, and even 5 years, and where do we need to be down the road, and then they plan accordingly. They identify what they're trying to accomplish over time and what needs to happen now in 6 months, 2 years, and 3 years to get there. It also means that strategic thinkers take a what I call holistic view of their company and organization. And they really consider all of the different components and pieces of the puzzle that kind of make the company work. And what I mean by that is that they don't make a decision in a vacuum. They actually consider who is going to be impacted by this decision, who has been impacted by these type of decisions in the past. Should we involve them in this conversation? What is going to happen if we make this decision in the next 12 months? Who might need to know about this decision? So all of those things are important key pieces that strategic thinkers consider. So why should you care about strategic thinking? Why should it matter to you as a woman leader? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and I'm going to go over those right now. Couple key things that I want to point out is that as women, we need to be seen at the table. We need to be in leadership and executive positions, running Fortune 500 companies, running organizations, building multi-million-dollar businesses. And it's essential for women to think strategically because it shows a dedication to quality, problem solving, productivity, and continuous improvement. It also demonstrates that you can be a broad, big thinker, and you can look at things in a much larger context, which is a highly desirable leadership skill in any organization, on any board, and certainly if you are going to be running a multi-million-dollar company. Strategic thinking absolutely produces results for both you, the company, your customer. And it really positions you as a go-to person when big decisions or problems need to be solved or issues need to be kind of, reined in. What I want to talk about is why don't we actually do strategic thinking? Well, there's really just 3 key things that I want to point out. Number 1 is that it takes time, right? It takes time and resources to actually think strategically, and if you're not setting time aside at the beginning of a new project or when you're problem solving, you are probably going to totally miss the boat on thinking things through strategically. So you regularly need to schedule out and block some time to actually engage in this habit or best practice. The other second thing is that a lot of women leaders don't use certain tools that help them think strategically. And those tools might be as simple as what we call a SWOT analysis, whereas that's where you identify your strengths and weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. This is important when you're thinking through your strategy. And number 3 is that women leaders just don't have the skills to think strategically. And you've probably never had any training. And as a matter of fact, 90% of leaders have never had any training on how to think strategically. So how do we overcome all of these challenges and actually start thinking strategically so that we can rise up in our organization, be multi-million-dollar business owners, and lead successfully? Let's go over a couple key competencies that you need to be thinking about and certainly practicing. And as we go through these, I want you to hone in on 1 or 2 of these competencies that you know you need to develop as a leader. So the first competency that strategic thinkers use is what we call anticipating what's next. So they are constantly looking at what's going on in the marketplace and how can I anticipate what's coming down the pike and be prepared for it. How do I actually build my network so that I really understand the connections that are being made either technologically, socially, so that I am in front of this opportunity or problem or whatever it might be. The second is really challenging what you know. So what you should totally rid your vocabulary of is the quote, well, we always did it this way and it worked before. Or we tried that and it didn't work, so we're not going to bother trying it again. You have to be committed to constantly challenging the status quo and challenging what you know. The third competency is adopting what we call a systems perspective. And what that means is not making a decision in a vacuum, that you actually sit back and consider all of the different impacts of people and systems and parts of your business or organization or customers that may be impacted by a simple decision that you're going to make about changing your business, changing your product, or changing your service. That is really thinking about your business as a system. And that includes your vendors, your customers, your employees, your team, your family, all of those people that are part of that system. How are they impacted by the decisions that you're going to make moving forward? A next key competency as a strategic thinker is having clear focus and intent. And what that means is that you need to get clarity on your vision, your values, and make sure that all of your decisions are aligned to that. So that when you are considering what to do, your first question is this in alignment with our vision? Is this in alignment with our values? If you are clear on your values, decisions become so much easier. Because yes, it's aligned, or no, it's not, and we don't do it. Very, very simple but powerful way to be a strategic thinker. Another key competency is considering the past, present, and future to make decisions. And so you really do need to look at what you've done in the past, how that's impacted where you are today, and how it should help formulate where you're going tomorrow. So you want to be doing research, you want to be doing your homework, you want to be asking people, what happened in the last few years? What have our customers been saying? Let's look at our data if it's available, or industry data if it's available, so that we can recognize trends or patterns or issues that might help position us as a leader in problem solving or as a leader in innovation moving forward. You certainly, as a strategic thinker, want to engage and allow time for creative thinking and brainstorming. And this is really important. And I've provided you in the article with several questions to help you think creatively and get those brainstorming sessions going. If you do not create the time to actually think creatively, then creativity and strategic creativity, it will never happen. I'm not sure if you know this, but Google actually provides their engineers with, I believe, 20% of their time during their work week to do things that they find interesting. And why do you think they do that? They do that because they know that by allowing them time to be creative and research things that are of interest to them, they're going to notice patterns, they're going to notice connections, they're going to notice something that fits or is already in their system, which now allows them to be a better strategic thinker and continue to make Google, the biggest company in the world. And then lastly, be responsive to opportunities. So one of the key things that you need to understand is what opportunities are out there for us. Do we even know what opportunities are out there for us? Have we considered what opportunities are out there for us? And the only way to do that is to stay on top of industry trends, inquire with customers or people that work with you about opportunities that are facing your organization, and then assign people to research those opportunities. How much would they cost? Is it feasible? What's the risk to the business? You really have to allow that time and space to explore those opportunities, similar to that example I just gave about Google. So when you're thinking about strategic thinking, I do want you to understand that it is a process. That process may not look linear, but in the article I have presented you with that process, and it's pretty straightforward, right? Number one, you start with having a vision. And I talked a little bit about that. Where are you headed? What is the vision that you're trying to accomplish? From there, you align people to that vision. From there, you start to understand and ask those important questions about opportunities and threats that you have in your business. And then you start discovering those connections and those relationships that you may not have thought about that are in your system, right? You want to look at patterns, trends in the industry so that you can position yourself in front of the curve and not be behind the curve. And then finally, you want to consider what are the long-term impacts of the decisions that we might make today, and who is impacted in this system that we need to be thinking about. That is a strategic thinking process at a very high level, but very, very important in terms of helping you be successful and considering all of the opportunities that might be out there for you to grab hold of. I want you to think about what are the competencies that you need to develop as a leader so that you can be more strategic in your business. What are the opportunities that you have if you have a team to help them think more strategically? And the key about becoming a strategic thinker is making it a habit. And the only way to make it a habit is to practice it day in and day out. And in my article, I've provided you with several questions and ideas, and I encourage you to choose at least 3 of those and get started right away. Because as women, we need to be strategic thinkers, because that is what's going to get us where we need to be at the top of the organization, right? Running these very highly successful multinational, multi-million-dollar companies. This is a skill that we can excel at, but we have to practice good habits around it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I certainly would love to hear your comments or feedback about the article, and thank you very much for watching today.